Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. It's great to have so many people with us tonight. We hear from talent professionals all the time that leaders want their organizations to really practice the ideas of smarter collaboration, and their people need to figure out what actions that they can take. Well, now we have an accessible, easy to use, research grounded way for people to evaluate their collaborative capabilities and help to make the most of them. It's the Smarter Collaboration 360. And for the next 45 minutes, Heidi, Gardner, Csilla Ilkei, and I are going to introduce you to the new tool. So just as a brief introduction, Heidi Gardner is a professor at Harvard Law School and the CEO of Gardner & Co. Csilla Ilkei is a McKinsey veteran and the research director at Gardner & Co. And she's done dozens of debriefs of the SC360 and really has a deep understanding of the process, how to debrief the tool, and the impact that it can have on individuals and teams. And I'm Ivan Matviak, the CEO of Smarter Collaboration International and one of the co-founders of Gardner & Co. So what we thought we would do for the next 45 minutes is tell you about the tool. We'll share some real case studies to give you a flavor of how it can be used and the impact that it can have. We'll explain the process and the report, how the whole thing works. And we'll give you some insights into some exciting new capabilities that we're working on, sort of what's coming next. Just two quick logistics things. There's a question and answer function. So please go ahead and ask your questions. Csilla is going to be monitoring that, and we'll ask your questions to the group as we go through the evening. And we'll also have time for Q&A at the end. And we are recording the session, so we'll post this to the Gardner & Co. website afterwards. So if you want to relook at it, or if you have any colleagues or clients who would like to watch the video, that will be available as well. So with that, I'll pass it over to Heidi to talk a little bit about the background of why we created the Smarter Collaboration 360.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for joining us. We are delighted that you are here. So we heard that there was a big need in the market as we were working with our clients, global professional service firms, regional professional service firms, other kinds of corporates, nonprofits, government agencies. We are thrilled to hear that the ideas and the demand for smarter collaboration has really caught on. And at the same time, we know that there are lots of leaders who are not entirely clear how they can create the context where smarter collaboration thrives. The question we keep getting asked, how can I become a better collaborative leader and create that environment where everyone is on board, where they can bring their strengths to bear, where they can use their specialized expertise and team up with people around them to solve more complex, higher value problems. And leaders recognize that their behavior often carries outsized impact when it comes to role modeling these behaviors. And the astute ones, the self-aware ones, recognize that they sometimes have blind spots and they're seeking out feedback. As we all know, it can be hard to give feedback directly to a leader. So, the old adage, it's lonely at the top. It also means it's unclear at the top how well you're doing on certain of these dimensions. As you'll hear from Csilla and me as we go on, it's not just leaders that have been using this. People at all levels of organizations have benefited from getting this kind of feedback. Executives, top teams can understand and then make the most of the collaborative insights and mitigate their blind spots. And we will share with you what this tool does, how it works, and the power in getting some of those candid feedback and observations that allow people to really understand how people experience working and collaborating with them. So let's start with one of the case studies. We had the privilege of working with an organization in its post-merger phase. They were growing very quickly. A number of different pieces had been brought together. The merger thesis was that if these different legacy businesses could engage in what we call smarter collaboration, working across silos, bringing their services and offerings together in a joined up way, that they would create more value for their clients and customers and ultimately generate significantly higher returns. That was the thesis behind the merger. And when we were called in to start working with them, there was a lot of, shall we say, unfulfilled potential, right? They weren't collaborating as effectively as they needed to across the organization. The leaders were self-aware. They recognized that there was an opportunity for the leadership team, 3 executives who had never worked together previously, to really operate side by side and in the most powerful way possible. They also recognized that their levels, 1 and 2 below them, were not fully leveraging the power of collaboration. So the question was, what can we do? We have a brilliant coach that we've been working with on this project as part of the Gardner and Co team. And she helped us deliver the Smarter Collaboration 360 to a couple layers of leaders in this organization. And here are the kinds of things that they learned. One of the things is the C-suite discovered that they had some common blind spots. So the coach encouraged everyone to solicit feedback, not only from in the operating board each other, but also a couple layers down in the organization, and to go outside. So some of these executives served on boards, for example, and they solicited feedback from some of their fellow board members. A whole range of different observations came to them. The coach brought them all together, and they took, I think, the bold and brave step of sharing their 360 findings with one another. And they discovered that indeed there were a number of areas where they thought that they were good, sufficient, even great, and their teams basically called them out on it. So one of those things, for example, was, yes, I think I'm really open to novel ideas. And their teams are like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And they got the feedback that the teams didn't feel heard and recognized and celebrated when they would bring fresh ideas and innovation to these leaders. That was a really crucial finding. They've been working, these leaders have been working with the coach on building their capabilities and building trust, not only with each other, but with the organization. When you see senior leaders who are open to feedback, they're actively engaged in using that feedback to improve their leadership, and they are going to people in the organization and revealing what they're working on, that creates a huge amount of trust. Let me give you a specific example. The president of the organization uncovered and is now leveraging what we call an undiscovered strength. This is a place where she had gotten feedback that people around her rated her much higher than she had rated herself on her ability to show up in a really trustworthy way. Once she understood that she was taking that for granted, she thought she was, average. She thought she was fine on it. But this was a real standout characteristic in other people's minds. And when that came to light, what it allowed her to do was to push and challenge her teams more than she had been doing, because everyone knew that she had their back. They could trust her. They believed in why she was making those tough requests, putting out those higher numbers, you name it. And because they really trusted her, and she now understood how much they trusted her, she could leverage that undiscovered strength. We also have leaders at other levels of the organization who are creating individual development plans and making real quantifiable progress through them. So the personalized report that they got, and we'll tell you how the process really plays out, but the personalized report that people got, they described it as eye-opening, pragmatic, immensely useful. This is a tool that's changing the culture, it's changing the leadership behaviors, and already it's starting to deliver better business results. Csilla, over to you.
Let me bring you another very interesting story, and how in this very specific situation, this market-leading professional services firm really managed a significant turnaround, really ignited by the Smarter Collaboration 360. The market-leading position started to become shaky maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago. There were clear signs that there are new market players entering the market. There were kind of up and coming new strong players that became really competitive. But what happened within the firm, the top tier leadership just tried not to get the message. They were still hoping, look, we've been always great. This is how it's going to be no matter what. They were a little bit on denial. So after total leadership change on the executive level and the new strategy, collaboration really became the centerpiece, how they can gain back their total strength and even start a new way of approaching their clients and services. And it's all about the collaboration. The problem, there was not a lot of support from the leadership below. There were a few enthusiasts, some neutral folks, but they were really the younger, up-and-coming leaders, the incumbent senior leadership, those who are influencing, those who are really shaping opinion. They were not really part of that crew. But this is the bold move that the new CEO made. They decided to actually still leverage those who are crucial to success, those leaders who are really meaningfully could be part of the journey. So they created this little pool of these partners who were, for sure, were very collaborative, and they were not well known for their thrive in terms of innovation context. They said, yeah, we are successful, we are doing really well. We don't need all that. But here comes the 360. With the 360, they managed to collect feedback. And by the way, that is not always a given. But they managed to get candid feedback from their peers, from their reports, and even from external sources. So their customers, their clients were able to provide very clear observations how these folks are collaborating. And then here's the magic. When they realized what they represent, what are those strengths that they are aware of or not aware of, or what are the things that actually they know they are not great at and others agree, that created the discussion with the coach. Okay, what does that mean? There are a lot of opportunities I can change the way I'm leading. There are a lot of opportunities for me to bring a different energy to the room. Which one I'm really excited about? Which one I'm really committed to doing? So throughout the coaching session, they created the plan. And to give you an example, it was a light bulb moment when they said, oh, wow, okay, I thought I was not a great collaborator, but I'm certainly not blocking collaboration. As a matter of fact, in the feedback, they all received the point that, yes, you are dominating almost all the conversations. You are not allowing true collaborations by really creating the space for others to raise points because you already know the answer and this is how it is. So I can actually turn the culture by having a little bit more self-awareness and acting differently. Or another one, yes, these partners were not the champions of innovation, but that is exactly the thing that the firm needed at that moment. So what can they do? If they just lean back and say, I'm not the guy who is going to do this, that comes across as somewhat I'm against it. So through the coaching, through their recognition and reflections, they are able to say, all right, I might not be really strong at that, but if I communicate that you go with it, I'm fully supportive of it, I think it's a good idea. And from the back end, I'm all here for you. That is already helping people to think about this differently and creating a different lens. So overall, it is a culture change project, but with the help of the Smarter Collaboration 360 and the very bold leadership, we were able to turn the corner and start injecting energy and openness to the journey ahead.
Absolutely. So hopefully, thanks, Csilla and Heidi. Hopefully that gives you a really good feel for some of the use cases and where the tool has been applied and some of the impact that it's had. And hopefully it also resonates why this tool is unique. It is the only 360 available on the market that is uniquely, specifically focused on collaboration and the behaviors that can promote collaboration or actually undermine collaboration. So let's talk a little bit about how the tool works. First of all, it's very easy to use. People can get, as Csilla referenced, feedback from their managers, their peers, direct reports, and even external stakeholders. We might talk a little later about a context where it was used amongst a board of directors, where they were getting feedback from around the board, which was incredibly powerful. The way the process works is the client sends us the names and emails of the subjects, and we set it all up in the system. An automated email then goes to the subjects where they can nominate their raters on the platform, so they take care of that process themselves. Anybody who's interested in viewing the progress of the process can see real-time status reports. So if you're a consultant or a coach or a facilitator and you want to make sure things are moving along, you can get visibility into how many ratings are coming in and where things stand in the process. And then when the rating process closes, all the reports are automatically generated and distributed out to the subjects and or the facilitators who are managing the process. So it's really very easy to use. The platform is extremely reliable. It's automated, it's highly scalable, and we can run virtually an unlimited number of 360s simultaneously. And it's fast, both for the coaches and facilitators and for the subjects and the raters. The questions only take about 15 minutes to answer. That they're on a simple Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So it's a format that most people are familiar with. And there's 2 areas for verbatim questions. So really it's a very easy process to follow, but the output is incredibly powerful. And Heidi's going to talk a little bit about sort of what does the report look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick reminder, jump in if you've got Q&A, just pop those into the question and answer bar. Csilla, do we have anything that we need to cover at this point?
Now, there is just one question: that is there a sample report somewhere that folks can see?
Yes, absolutely. So we can provide a sample to people if you go ahead and later on we'll provide our email addresses. There's also Lee. Some of you have met Lee already. She's our operations assistant at Gardner & Co. and Smarter Collaboration International. She's been working with us now for several months. If you haven't had a chance to work with her, I hope you will soon. Lee at gardnerandco.co will be able to give you a PDF, a sample report, and also a couple of screenshots of what it looks like when you're actually taking one of these, whether it's on your phone or on the computer. So let's talk about what the action report is. So, pretty standard that people will get a report once they've done a 360. Otherwise, I'm not sure how they'd get their feedback. What's different about this one? Well, let me start by describing the 9 competencies. Some of you are familiar with our psychometric tool, which has 7 different dimensions. There are 9 on this. 7 of them relate pretty closely to what our research again and again has turned up as underlying foundational elements of smarter collaboration. Why 9 here? If you remember, one of the dimensions that we've used a lot in the past deals with trust. Here, when people are getting feedback, they need feedback on 2 aspects of trust. One is, do they demonstrate trust in the people around them? How do people feel when they're working with this subject? Do they feel like this person trusts them, or do they feel like somebody's always checking up on them, and so forth? So how much are they trusting those around them? The other dimension, though, is how trustworthy are they? Are they sending loud, clear, consistent signals that the people around them can trust them? Right? So the trust dimension now has been broken into 2 when it comes to competencies. Are you good at signaling in both directions? And then there is a competency that we have added here. It's non-optional, non-negotiable. Everyone, regardless of role or level of kind of organization, they have to be really good at communicating collaboratively, right? That is truly essential. And Csilla alluded to it before in her case study. She was talking about it, something that came out in the firm that we were working with as well. There is often a gap here in how people believe that they are communicating. Are they inviting other people into the conversation? Are they creating space, or are they dominating, and so forth? And here, getting feedback on that is really crucial. One of the elements is a radar diagram. It contrasts people's at the level of the competency, contrast their self-rating with what others are rating them as well. And here, you can see quite easily where that gap is. The second element that is somewhat unique to this Smarter Collaboration 360 is how pragmatic and focused it is on giving pro tips. So there is a classic 2x2 here where people can understand where they have rated themselves in alignment with their raters. It's highlighted here, the superpower. This is the one where both the subject and everyone who's given them feedback believe that on average, they're really good at this. The report customizes the tips then. How do you go about using, in this case, sometimes makes people uncomfortable. This is an area that the subject is actually really good at, never makes people feel uncomfortable, always makes people welcome. They recognize that this is something that they're good at. They create an environment where it's welcoming and inclusive. They recognize that that's a strength for themselves. Other people have seconded that. So how do they lean into that and use it to the optimal ability, not only in their leadership, but also in their contributing? So these superpowers are ones where everyone agrees, real top strength. The opposite, of course, is where somebody recognizes, I've got some work to do, and they get feedback along those same lines, confirmatory feedback that, yes, this is a development area, growth opportunity for you. On the off diagonals, sometimes people are underconfident, right? That was the president of the organization we talked about before, who didn't realize just how crucial it was that she was considered to be incredibly trustworthy. Now she recognizes it, and that can play to that undiscovered strength. The watch out, of course, is where people have overconfidence. That's like, yes, absolutely, I am fully open to novel ideas, and people around me are not experiencing me like that, right? So that could be a watch out. And as I said, we give the pro tips here customized based on where somebody comes out relative to their raters and what they can do about it. The next area of the report is one where we are able to show how it is broken out by rater group. Right, so we've had subjects, for example, where they were rated very highly by people above them, but their direct reports had a really different viewpoint. What does that mean? And how are they operating in the workplace that they are really seen as brilliant collaborators by people at a certain level and not so much at it from a different hierarchical level? That's really important feedback, and an experienced coach is going to be able to lean into that and help somebody understand what it means, what's the impact they're having on people around them. And then lastly, of course, there is an opportunity for people to get verbatim comments. And these can offer some color and some flavor behind the numbers. There are several other parts of the report that we didn't highlight here. One is an omnibus Smarter Collaboration score. This is an opportunity for people to give a 1 to 10, just if you had to give this person a score for, are you likely to want to work with them again? How much would you recommend them? It's like a net promoter score, but in the collaboration space. This is a great single factor to focus on. When people want to do 360s repeatedly, they can see how their score improves over time. So lots of different areas here that are specific, pragmatic, and very helpful at what we've seen in people, not only in leadership positions, but for people throughout different levels of the organization as well.
Heidi, jumping in with a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
What is the ideal size of a cohort? What is a meaningful feedback group?
Right. So in the way we have set the numbers, people need to have 3 raters per group. So if I were the subject and I nominated a bunch of direct reports, for those direct reports to come as a category, at least 3 of them would have had to have responded. That helps to preserve anonymity. The only category for which that's not true is the supervisor, because a lot of people don't have 3 supervisors. I can tell you, though, people have taken this to some extremes. Another interesting angle for the Smarter Collaboration 360 is it gives people the opportunity to solicit feedback from external raters. I mentioned people going to board members before. People actually, our clients have asked me to give them feedback through it. They've, asked all kinds of people on the outside. One organization that we worked with, a partner asked 23 different clients for feedback. We actually thought that might be a little excessive, and that he might get disappointed. It turns out that 21 of the 23 clients that he asked for feedback provided a full set of ratings for him. And one of the people who didn't respond was on maternity leave. So people have taken this to lots of different directions. They need a minimum of 3 to have that rater group broken out, but some people are really hungry for feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, 21 may be a little extreme, but there's actually no limit to the number that you can have. You can also have multiple managers if you have multiple managers. We like to have generally, Csilla, to answer that question, we like to have generally 5. 3 is the minimum, but for the direct reports and the peers, we like to have at least 5 in general. It gives just enough, flavor and granularity so that we can really break out the data in interesting ways. All right, let's pivot a little bit to some of the details of how the product works. So just from a pricing point of view, the SC360 is $250 per subject. That's the person receiving the feedback. Doesn't matter how many people are providing the rating, but it's $250 per subject. And we do have discounts for nonprofits, including higher education, in case there are groups that would need a special preferential price in order to be able to use the tool. If you have other contexts where you think the tool could be needed, also please come to us. We're always happy to talk about how we can make it available to broader groups of people. Beyond the 360 itself, we have developed 3 complementary tools. The first is the Facilitator's Guide. This comes with the 360, and it gives the coach, the consultant, the facilitator, more granular details on how the tool works. It gives the analytics behind the tool, the science behind it, how to interpret people's results, but also best practices for how to conduct a feedback session and some examples of solution-oriented questions so that you can help facilitate a positive conversation and help people think about how to make the most of the feedback that they've received. We also have the SC360 Facilitator Kit, which helps facilitators lead dynamic workshop type sessions. So particularly when you have multiple people who've taken a 360, maybe it's a board or a leadership team, it's not that you're necessarily sharing all of the 360 information, but we can aggregate up the information so that you can look at it in aggregate and then facilitate some really interesting conversations around where commonalities and trends are, where outliers are, and think about how to really optimize the collaborative capabilities of the group. And then finally, we have the participant kit, which is oriented toward the subject, the person receiving the feedback. And it's a set of enhanced tools to help them think about how to really apply the insights out of the 360 over time and how to apply it in different types of contexts by working with people with different skills, different backgrounds, and how to really leverage the capabilities. So those are 3 resources that are available that complement the 360. We're also doing certification programs, which are formal programs, 90 minutes, which help, again, facilitators and coaches to really learn a little bit more in a group setting facilitated by us, how to use the tool. It also is a nice certification for people. So if you want to put it on your LinkedIn or your resume or something like that, you can say that you are officially certified in the Smarter Collaboration 360. Last but not least, we are really excited about some new tools that we're rolling out. So we talked about the SC360 for individuals. We're also doing a team version, so we can aggregate the data from multiple individual reports, look at groups of people in aggregate, and similar to the SC360, we will give insights and tips and analytics around the group dynamics and ways that the group can optimize based on the composition of the team. We've used some beta versions of this with a couple of clients already, and it's really been helpful in some of those group dynamic situations. Clients have also been asking us, how can they measure and track collaborative progress over time? So you might do the Smarter Collaboration 360 with an individual or a team, and they want to know, how are things progressing? Well, we've developed a pulse survey, which we're calling SC Signals, which allows teams and organizations to use a very quick 3 to 5 question survey to gauge how things are trending over time. That's been a really a nice tool with a couple of clients we've used already to really help give some insights into where are they making progress, where do they need to tweak a little bit on their approach, where do they need to put some additional emphasis to really continue to move collaboration forward in the organization.
Ivan, let me just jump in. One of the outcomes of using the SC360 in one organization is that they're really starting to build up a feedback culture. So when we worked with them, the first time that after our diagnostic and the first time we were with them in person and presenting to them and engaging in a workshop, one of the partners said something that really shocked me. He said, "I've never gotten feedback from a fellow partner." And I said, "Wait, so never, like never in the last month, never in the last how long?" He's like, "No, like never, never. As long as my heart has been beating, I have never gotten feedback from one of my peers here." And I couldn't believe it. And it turns out this was an organization where that was basically taboo. People, believed that once you made a certain level in the organization, you had ticked the boxes and it wasn't their right or responsibility to help you keep growing. And we used the 360 with them. And what's been remarkable is using the SC signals with the pulse survey month on month, what we have been able to see is that there is growing frequency of people giving feedback to each other on a regular basis. And talking to them, one of the reasons this is happening is, first of all, it kind of broke the dam. The first time that you had a dozen or so people asking peers for feedback and being open to it and reacting really well to it, suddenly people realized that there is space for growth here. But it wasn't just the dozen subjects who had gotten the feedback that started to change their behavior. They had been asking for feedback from many, many, many people throughout the organization, and it normalized it. People realized it not only was it not scary and it wasn't taboo, it was very welcome, it was really constructive, and it was worth the effort. And so putting those two tools together, the SC360 and the Signals Pulse Survey, has really helped us to see how the culture is changing for the better.
So
Totally.
isn't it interesting that there are those organizations where feedback is just not only taboo, but it's just not part of life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul is asking the question, so what is the ideal rhythm of receiving 360 type of feedback? Is it once a year, twice a year? Is there some kind of, good?
So naturally the answer is it depends. But I think what does it depend on? I think what we are seeing is several different kinds of use cases that would warrant more frequent feedback. One of them is use with lateral hires. So in one organization, they are growing quite rapidly through individuals and very small teams that are joining. And what they realized is that they hadn't had a great way of onboarding people and enculturating them with the way people behave. And oftentimes people were coming in and their colleagues were experiencing them as somewhat sharp-elbowed or just, stepping out of line in different ways. And there was no real opportune way to give them that feedback and help them understand how to course correct. And what this organization is now deciding to do is to give lateral hires, sort of senior people joining from outside, a 360 at about the 3 or 4 month mark after people have experienced working with them once or twice. This is not, the tool is not meant to be a final judgment on everything there is to know about a subject. It's really, how do I experience working with you? And if we have worked together even once for a significant amount of time, I have enough data that I can be comfortable answering these kinds of questions. Right? And so at the 3 or 4 month mark, I hope laterals will have had at least some people that they can ask for feedback. And then what they're deciding to do is basically toward the end of that lateral's first year, repeat the exercise and see how that has changed. So in that case, certainly a couple of times in their first year, potentially a couple of times in their second year, make sure they're really on track and getting integrated. In one of the other organizations where we worked, and their senior leadership team had some very significant challenges in understanding how to work well with each other and creating that context. Getting feedback again in about 6 months' time is going to be the right rhythm for them. In many instances, once a year is probably about the right amount of time. I will say, we strongly, strongly, strongly discourage people from using this as part of their annual appraisal or assessment process. There is a risk that people use this kind of a tool in order to evaluate somebody for promotion, for bonuses, for other kinds of formal processes in the assessment cycle. It's not the right kind of tool for that. And in fact, research says that no 360 is a good tool for that, because once people understand that they're giving feedback that will affect somebody's promotion or bonus or something like that, they are very, very, very reluctant to be candid. Instead, we encourage people to use it for developmental purposes. How do people understand what they're doing brilliantly? Where do they have those undiscovered strengths? What can they do that will help people around them to thrive, as well as to boost their own performance? So in normal circumstances, people tend to undertake that kind of self-reflection and create a personal development plan once a year, and that's probably the right rhythm for many people.
Yeah. Except those organizations, Heidi, that we work with, we're very agile and very project-based.
That's true. Good
and
point.
They say, look, we as a team, we'll be intensely working together for the next 6 weeks. And then we all move on to the next thing. So having that 6-week window is plenty to get really insightful, observations and suggestions from the team.
Absolutely.
Sure.
If it's a critical team, this is a great thing to do early on, so people are coming in eyes wide open.
Yeah, and on every question within the 360, there's the option to say NA. If you don't know, you can just say, I don't have a perspective on that person. So there's really not much risk in asking somebody for whom you've had perhaps not as much engagement with as another person that you've been working with recently.
Absolutely.
All right, now for the last product in the pipeline that is probably the thing that clients have been waiting the most for and asking the most for over the last 10 years is the twins analysis. If you've ever seen us present the concepts of smarter collaboration, you will have seen the twins slide, which shows two partners in a professional service firm who have very different collaboration networks. And the dramatic differences in the outcomes between the individual with a small collaboration network and the individual's network that you see here, which is a deep, rich, complex collaboration network. Clients have been asking us literally for a decade, can I do this with my people? Can I do this with my organization? And we are finally at a point where we can actually do this analysis and roll it out for clients. So we are just in the beta testing of it right now. We have a few clients that we are piloting it with. If any of you, if either your organizations or you have clients that would be interested in piloting with us as well, please let us know. We would be very interested. But we're super excited about the potential for this type of collaboration network analysis to really give some new insights into how people are collaborating. Who are they collaborating with, across what silos, across what different types of demographics, and how is that translating into outcomes for them and their organization?
Absolutely. How is it changing over time? How much are they refreshing their network and using it, using the innovation potential in there? It's really super exciting.
Yeah. Before I leave this page, I should have mentioned that the next certification is scheduled for December 12th. So as Heidi said on the last page, you'll see some contact details. If you're interested in joining us for that, please let us know.
Absolutely. So quick next steps here. We will be sharing the video with all of you. We can email it a link to you, or visit the Gardner & Co. Website, and all of that will be available within the coming couple of days. We should put it up on LinkedIn as well. Beyond that, what we also have is signing up for our certification, the thing that Ivan was just talking about. And that's scheduled for December 12th. You can email info@Gardner & Co. And clicking right along, Ivan, we've also got the opportunity here. If you want to ask more questions, you can email lee@gardnerandco.co as well. So making sure that there are lots of ways for you to continue your, building on the community that we have here, building on the ways that you bring smarter collaboration to life. So we are excited to continue the conversation with you, and we look forward very much to staying in touch. I think we are right about almost at time. Csilla, is there any other question that we need to get to?
One question. Can we
squeeze in one more?
It is about how to see this as a longer term journey. How can people just keep repeating and refining, refreshing their development goals over time? How can you track progress? And also with that, from a consultant perspective, is there some kind of subscription model available?
Well, there's a lot in there. So let's start at the end. There will be a subscription model available. Right now, we have the pricing, as Ivan had described, on a per unit basis. But we are exploring different kinds of pricing models, because we know there are some organizations out there that want to build this into their development programming or certain promotion cycles, et cetera. So a subscription model absolutely is in the works. So stay tuned for that. If you want more information, you want to discuss, some kind of a bespoke program there, just get in touch with us. Csilla, help me. What was the other part of that question?
It was how we are tracking progress.
Yeah.
What is the best way to think about this, not as a one-time event?
Absolutely. So when Ivan talked about the facilitator kit and the participant kit, we've got materials that help people set goals based on what they learn from this process, and find ways that they can track their progress specifically against those goals. So we have some worksheets, we have some timing suggestions in there for how people can really use this to bring it to life. And of course, one of the things that we encourage people to do is not use this as a single event, but rather as the spark that you then, keep the flame alive by having these ongoing conversations with your peers and other people throughout the organization. So with that, we are at time here. We look forward to staying in touch with everyone. Thank you so much for spending, whether it's your morning or your evening, thank you for spending time with us at this point. And we look forward to staying in touch with all of you. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.